Not the whole thing.
I don't know.
That's just-
It's
I
hard to-
don't know.
That's the one they started to do.
So
Here's what's going on, I guess.
We'll make sure it's in the
Yeah,
video.
yeah.
Get rid of the old.
How lovely.
So strange.
And just trying to get this to you.
You
Here's
said
my
it was right
phone.
only for June.
Yeah, we gotta see that. Maybe I'll get some water too.
Don't worry. Oh, that's what my friend said. The nights are so, you know what? I'm
That's right.
I'm gonna have to run to the.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna sit down.
So I'm sitting here. I'll drop your stuff here.
I have to sit down.
I'll go here. I guess I have to sit here.
You can sit there if you want. Yeah.
Okay.
Need my reading
Janet
glasses,
Ross.
or I can't see.
I've seen you too, sitting next to Daniel.
Oh,
yeah.
That's why I listen sometimes.
I see you listening.
Yeah.
I picked up most of my German from home, and
Yeah,
so it's
yeah,
obviously just a little bit of
Barry
art from
says my
German to
eyes
Yiddish.
are always.
Well,
It's not a big
I-
deal.
I
I laugh, my eyes.
I
do.
Yeah, well, he's
So I have to go like this.
Hanover.
Oh.
okay. Schöne Stadt.
Yeah,
I can't keep my German by Yiddish separate now unless I try.
It's
and
okay.
It's so
It's
funny.
all right, I'll sit.
Yeah, makes sense.
Your sign is there.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
We're not doing this. We're doing something. So, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, you can sit wherever you like.
Which is, you know, that people are always.
So I think we have, let's see, who's on the wall?
Where are you sitting? I'm on
Diane
the
and-
I'll stay here. Anyone else?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm slightly vision impaired. I need my driving glasses to see that. I'm like, yeah, I can't see that.
You're okay there, or do you want to sit next?
Okay, I-
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Barbara's sitting.
7 minutes after,
Huh?
still losing our time.
Well, I know, but maybe actually I might hop over there. So there's one place closer. Okay. Great.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. We're gonna start in a minute whenever.
Yeah, it's ready.
I think it's.
Where are you going?
Barbara's sitting over there, so I'm gonna sit next to you.
Okay.
You're coming around to sit next to Barbara?
You want to sit over here?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Apparently it's not gonna record. So I'll just go back to where I was. That works.
Good.
Well, you
Alice,
can go
I'll
over
pass you
there.
your
No,
book.
it's fine.
I'm not
Yes.
any closer. I'm not any closer. What did you say your name was? Sharon. Sharon.
It's
Yeah.
kind of so bad.
It's not any closer than here, so I'm fine. Okay, everybody. Hello, welcome to the Readers Group. And welcome, Happy New Year, everyone. We're excited to be together. And Henrietta, thank you so much for agreeing to read this book, to review this book. I remember the Yiddish Book Center. I went to school of Massachusetts, and I remember hearing of that, and I like Yiddish. You always know everyone has their own experiences, memories of Yiddish, or memories of hearing about Yiddish. And I was like, wow, the Yiddish Book Center, how interesting. And I had seen this book before, and it's really great that you to hear about the how he revived Yiddish. And I know there's Yiddish Vinkl, and thank you members for being part of this and bringing the language back. I do remember hearing that how, when they started the state of Israel, we decided that they would use Hebrew, not because it was a language of sort of power, and Yiddish, there was I don't know, maybe this is part of what you're just talking about, how it was like in language of oppression or whatever, and it wasn't, and how you brought it back. Anyway, I think it's really great, and I'm really excited to hear about it. So with that, Henrietta has been our member for so long and has been really dedicated and always here, and I love seeing you and hearing from you. And
I'm glad everyone turned up. It's nice to have people here.
Yes.
Um,
And we have a person online that look.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey,
That's
Barbara.
Barbara Goldstein,
Yeah.
but I don't see her. name.
Um,
Oh, hi, Barbara.
There she is. I grew up in a
She's a
Yiddish speaking, writing, reading home. And this book is very dear to me. As you can see, I have many tabs.
Can you just tell us a little bit about where your family came from? I mean, just a
My
little bit of their
family
history.
immigrated in the late 1800s from Poland. My father was part of the Bund. If you know about the Bund in Europe, they were the ones that fought
If this is a medical emergency,
for
please
freedom
call 911. To
and against the Russians
press 1.
and the Poles. They were Poles, part of Russia at one point, part of Poland and another. And they are socialists. They joined the Outwitting, the Workers' Circle. And that's the kind of home I was raised in. I met Aaron Lansky way back when.
And he's the author of the book.
It's way back when he was a student,
No,
A little bit after.
a little bit after, yeah.
after he opened the Web Center. So let's get into Aaron Lansky's Outwitting history. I have loads of notes.
It is worth showing that this is actually the book that started my affair with Yiddish as well.
Oh, is that right?
It's midnight. The phone is ringing. Who would be calling at that hour? And the phone is ringing, the phone is ringing, the phone is ringing. And I'm Aaron Lansky, and I didn't want to get out of bed and answer the phone, so my girlfriend answers the phone. And it says, Aaron, is that you? And I recognize the voice, and it's Shabazooka, a young woman who taught me at the Yiddish Institute. I'm sorry to call you so late, she said, but this is an emergency. There are thousands of Yiddish books in a garbage dumpster on 16th Street, and it looks like it's going to rain. How soon can you be here? And that's the beginning of the Zalman. And that's the beginning of rescuing Yiddish books from households where the next generation didn't read Yiddish. And what to do with these books? They were being dumped.
I'm sorry, could you just tell me where were these books? Is this in Europe or the United States?
New York
Where
City.
we were in New York.
In New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aaron is Canadian. He's from Montreal. But you know, the border is New York.
Yep.
So that's
There was
where we
a
began.
huge Jewish community in Montreal that I didn't really realize until we went up there this year for Dan's birthday.
Yiddish is taught in the Jewish Community Center to the nursery school children going through the 5th grade.
In Montreal. It's much higher
Yes.
percentage than I ever realized.
In Montreal.
In
In
Montreal.
Isn't that amazing?
1970, 1/5 of Montreal citizens still spoke Yiddish.
Yes. In
Which
our
is-
Yiddish Vinkl, we have a number of members who are from in Montreal.
Oh, well, and Daniel and his mother are in my Yiddish Vinkl.
No, Yiddish Vinkl is a Yiddish group?
Yep.
It's a Zoom group and it's worldwide. They went online during COVID and Dan likes little languages. And he was a history and German major. He can speak Pennsylvania Dutch. He can do Yiddish. And he prefers the Southern German to the North. And
So that brought me partially back. to
yeah,
Yiddish.
and clearly Yiddish started where my ancestors came from in the Rhine Valley in Alsace. There's so many words, so many clues. Like they call cookies bredela. They use the Allah in the south
Right.
as opposed to
Little
khum.
bread.
In the Southwest, but yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But
sort of
it's-
awesome.
So don't let us like get you off track.
Yeah, go
Well,
hop
we
out,
know
but it's
from
so
our
great.
readings in the Vinkl that many Yiddish words have incorporated Arabic,
Mhm.
Or Polish,
Polish,
Or Lithuanian.
German,
that's right.
Yeah.
all
Or
different
even
languages.
Hebrew.
Right.
Included it in the
Right.
Yiddish language, because the Yiddish language has been around for thousands of years. It's the language that is spoken.
Mhm.
And wherever a Jew goes, the language goes with them.
Mhm.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
When would you say it started? You say thousands of
Oh,
years, so
maybe
below
Yiddish
800?
came. the Queen of Sheba.
book?
So as soon as there were people living in Jews living in Eastern Europe, they,
No, not Eastern Europe,
No,
Germany.
Germany.
huh?
Germany.
Yiddish came
Germany.
into existence on the French-German border.
Right.
French-German border.
Where Alsace is.
Also,
Where Germany, France and Switzerland come together.
About 700s.
Yeah, not much down.
Year 700.
Yeah, about there. The oldest Yiddish text, hilariously, is from Cairo, which tells you how international even then the Yiddish language was. Wherever there were Jews that had that background, they were
in
speaking Yiddish.
Morocco.
Yep, exactly.
Sure.
Yep,
Interesting.
yeah.
And and it's interesting that it's Yiddish rather than like Ladino or something in
Right.
Morocco.
Well,
Because it's
Ladino
close.
is from Spain and Portugal.
Right, but
It's
that's
close to
Ladino.
Morocco.
Yeah.
The books are written down, it doesn't seem. You never hear of Ladino books.
I can't hear you.
You never hear of Ladino books.
No,
So I don't think they had the
You hear-
literature.
They had a literary tradition, not a publishing tradition, which
There
are
you
two
go.
very different things.
you hear
Ah.
music, Ladino music.
Yep, yep. Yeah.
Yeah, one of our books that we read had a lot of,
Mhm.
right?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, and remember, a huge amount of the Yiddish literature that has survived and passed down wasn't published in the Old World, it was published in New York. So obviously there was a literary tradition earlier, but it really wasn't in the mass printing the same way it became in America. That's to say it wasn't there, it just was less.
Interesting. Okay, we don't want to take away. Just, how did all Yiddish get into Montreal? Where did
The
the
same way it got here in New York. Yeah, they moved.
They
went
moved.
to Canada
Same time.
rather than New York,
Same time,
Yeah.
yep.
Same migration, same everything.
starting in about 1880.
Close
Only over,
to,
yeah.
a little bit earlier,
Oh,
but yeah, very close.
That's where your boat went.
yeah,
Which boat do you got on?
yeah,
Yeah, probably.
went to Montreal. Interesting. Okay,
So our hero got his car with his friend, picked up the books, and they stored them in a warehouse. But another friend of theirs had a warehouse, but they had an empty floor on this warehouse. So they started storing these books in this warehouse. And word got around and calls kept coming in. I have books, but for every book he went to get, he was served tea and kugel, or tea and latkes, or tea and something. So it wasn't that he could just go in, get the books and leave. He had to hear the history of the person who was giving them the books.
That's the most wonderful thing about this book for me. It's the stories of the people he met.
right.
The old communists in New York City, where they jump in the car to go and rescue some books from one of the communes that had been disbanded, and the landlord was going to throw out a whole Yiddish library.
Yeah.
And it's the history of Judaism is laid out in this book. Judaism in New York and the East Coast is in that book.
Well, but some of those types of books were given to the Vinkl,
Mhm.
and are in their archives.
Mhm.
And everything is digitized now, so you don't have to have a book.
Mhm.
But I like paper.
Mhm.
But it's the history of the Jews that came in the
Yes.
But
But not just
eighties to the 1924.
But not
that
just-
group.
that, no, they were
Oh.
collecting, he is collecting all the Yiddish books. So a lot
Yeah.
of them moved from, like Vilna and Germany, they all moved here.
Right.
So he's collecting them, it sounds like mostly in the greater New York Northeast area.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
books
but they
are coming
travel.
from
They
everywhere.
travel the
Yes.
country.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
My
The people.
father
Yeah.
and mother read Yiddish.
Yeah.
They read all the current books at that time were translated into Yiddish.
Yeah.
My father read Jules Verne
Mhm.
in Yiddish.
Wow.
Okay,
Mhm.
speaking of my father, he lived to see submarines under the water.
Mhm.
He lived to see airplanes flying in the sky. And when the man landed on the moon, I said, Papa, there you are on the moon.
Yeah.
Jules Verne made.
Because all of these English authors were transcribed into Yiddish. And so we had a big library.
Did you read,
A Yiddish
Along with
library.
the Yiddish writers.
did you read the forwards?
Absolutely.
That was the
See,
newspaper.
my Opa,
Yes.
he had to escape Germany, went to England where he had a sponsor, and then he came to the United States, but he lived with me. I grew up with him, and he would read the forwards.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
delivery.
In case you don't know, it's in Hebrew letters.
Mhm.
Yiddish is in Hebrew letters. Now, in the Yiddish Vinkl, we have a woman in Pennsylvania who said, why didn't they choose Yiddish as the national language of Israel? And I just went, oh dear. So
It's not. Hebrew is the
that's
national
right.
language of
Hebrew
Israel.
was chosen, but there
But Susan
was.
explained that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Hebrew was the more powerful language.
Well, there was
Well, remember
chosen.
Yiddish was destroyed. Well, but it wasn't that it was more powerful.
Well, you must realize during the Holocaust, a
Yeah,
generation was lost. And so Yiddish fell by the wayside, but the national language of Israel is Hebrew. That language was developed when Israel was developed.
One of my
That was
favorite.
before the Holocaust. It really was when Jews
really-
started going to. before that.
Because Hebrew that they speak in Israel is modern Hebrew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
When was
idea of
that?
bringing it back as something for people to speak, my understanding was that this is power, this is our people, this is the of our people, not so much.
well, I also think the
the-
decision was made that Hebrew needed to be the language. But there was a lot of controversy because Hebrew is a language of the Bible.
Mhm.
And
Right.
do we use the language of the Bible, like Mishkapayim, my sunglasses in Hebrew? I mean, was it bad to use the language of the Bible or to, so there was a lot of conversation about it, but I think it's wise that they chose Hebrew.
Another point that's worth remembering is that all these Zionists were often very militantly secular. They weren't necessarily the Bundist style
That's right,
socialists,
That's
but
right.
many of them opposed Hebrew as a national language on that ground. But one of the
On the
lines
grounds that what?
They were
that
secular, so
yeah.
they didn't want a
they want
religious
Israel as a
language.
ethnic, cultural Jewish state, not necessarily as a religious Jewish state. One of the lines from Aaron Lansky that I absolutely loved is he would have a hard time talking to older people, and they would say, "Why are you doing Yiddish? It's old. My Bubba is already dead. Why would you do this?" And one of the pitches he gave that's connected to the language argument is when Yiddish dies out, when it passes from this world, when all these books are in the dumpsters, that will be the final victory of Adolf Hitler. Because Yiddish would not have been exterminated if it was not for the Holocaust. So talk about what created the situations that allowed the demise of Yiddish and the primacy of Hebrew in Israel.
I'm sorry, I have to take issue with what you just said.
Please. Well, I'm just recounting what he said.
Yeah, the death of Yiddish is not the same as the death of the Jews.
It-
And
now,
that was
it-
Adolf Hitler's movement.
One little point, if I could, and as Dan's always pointed out, we're peripheral. Like I took Jewish studies. I grew up reading Shalom Aleichem in English, of course. My girlfriend, Leah Margulies, her uncle was the editor of the forwards.
Wow.
So for a not Jew, Kevin Topek, a lot of people know the Topek family. He's a friend of ours.
Yeah.
So Kevin's joke is that I was raised with the tribe. So that's Kevin's joke about me. So that's just to give you my background. But let me clarify in a way that might be more acceptable to you. Language is culture and culture is language. Yiddishkeit is the culture of this valiant, sturdy, unbelievably undefeatable little group that started off in Germany and spread with that diaspora group, because it's been diaspora for, more than 2,000 years. But that little group made a culture that was so rich and so vibrant. So understanding the Yiddish is understanding the culture. Language is culture and culture is language. There's nuances. One of the reasons English is such an important, powerful language is because we're actually an amalgam of a Germanic base with a Latin overlay. We have subtleties that no other language approaches. Yiddish is the same. This language, this isn't German, it's a Germanic language, but the joy of Yiddish and Yiddishkeit that I was raised with as a Gentile to appreciate is reflected and reinforced through this very important language. And if it dies, I would grieve it unbelievably.
So would you say that Yiddish was very
Wow.
characteristic of the 6 million Jews who were killed?
It's
Yes.
That was their
unbelievable.
primary
95,
Of all
the
of them
ones that
except
didn't
the
speak the
Germans.
Longboard language, say Polish, would definitely be speaking Yiddish. And that's the point. It's not to say this was the,
Reading this book, though,
Mhm.
coming back to the
Yep.
book, it is an important language
Sure.
nevertheless. And to have something, I was amazed at how many writers, this was their first language. And if, Isaac Bathsheba Singer came to the United States, but the other singer, was he an English speaker? Some of the books would have been written anyway, but a lot of them would never have been written had we not been able, the books would have been written, but they would have been lost if he hadn't recovered those books.
Right.
that's a really good point.
And I was amazed by how many books in the way that he was amazed, I was amazed.
But many of them were the same books. Remember that a lot of these books were repeats and they were sent off to different libraries so that this library could have a collection and this library could have a collection.
That wasn't necessarily clear at the time to him, but yes, for one of my favorite stats that comes out of his book is they estimated in 1978 that there were 4,000 Yiddish books left in existence. And I think the current library has something in the order of 50,000 books.
Whoa.
So there were also just a lot more Yiddish text than they thought at the time.
Yeah. But I think the point that they make, though, that if Yiddish goes, Hitler would have succeeded in getting rid of a large portion of the Jewish culture.
The culture.
The culture, the culture, not the people.
Absolutely.
I want to read
culture.
this to you
Well,
now.
In addition to the people.
In addition to the
Yiddish.
people, yes.
Who wrote the Yiddish English dictionary.
Okay, well,
The greatest scholar of his generation was delivering a lecture in Finland when the Nazis invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939. The lecture saved his life. Unable to return to his home in Vilna, he made his way to New York. That's why we know him, where he opened his doors to American students. Few came, although many thought his work here was hopeless. Weinreich persevered, and when a student asked him why, he simply said, because Yiddish has magic, it will outwit history.
Yeah.
isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
It has magic.
And when
It does.
I didn't learn to read or write Yiddish until I came to Houston as an adult. And Susan Gantz was my Yiddish teacher. And that's when I learned to read Yiddish print. I could read and write Yiddish script, but I couldn't read Yiddish print.
Hmm.
And that's where I learned to read and write Yiddish.
But it's Hebrew letters, isn't it?
Yes,
With the Yiddish
yes.
finger.
Yeah.
And Susan taught at Betty Shore in Hebrew. And she taught me Yiddish reading and writing.
Hmm.
So I believe that Yiddish will always be here in one form or another.
Well, Ken Burns
It's
even
being taught in
talked about it.
universities. Basheva's Isaac Basheva's singers
yeah.
works are at the University of Texas. And what year did he win the Nobel Literary Prize?
I don't remember
I don't
what
know the
year.
year.
1970.
How did Texas get to have a his collection?
He donated
At
it.
the University of
He's
Oh,
Texas.
yeah.
It's in the Haley Ransom Center.
Yes.
He gave a lot of lectures at the UT.
When they
also.
first got the exhibit, we filled the car and drove to Austin. And it was hysterical. They had all his artifacts out of his apartment, including they swept the floor and spread the dirt. And it's-
That is so cool.
But you must realize too, his wife sold the collection to the University of Texas for the most money.
That was Singer's
Oh,
wife?
that's it.
Singer's wife?
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Yes.
The Haley Ransom Center has an amazing amount of money they spend on this.
The
Yeah.
life is very interesting. It's very enlightening.
Is that why UT is having Yiddish course?
Yes.
Because of the
No,
collection?
Gottesman was already there. Gottesman was already teaching Yiddish history and Yiddish language at UT at that time.
It will survive the current.
It's a goddess.
The Schechter Gottesman family in New York are very well known for their
And
Yiddish.
Rice too.
And the Yiddish theater there and
Yeah, we
Yiddish
had Jewish
culture.
history. We didn't have Yiddish history. It
So
was just South Cleveland.
he was one of that family. He's not there. I don't know where he went from UT. Went back east.
Mhm.
So have you been to the museum up in Amherst or?
I have never been,
It's on my list.
It's on your list.
Yep.
so
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere anymore.
Yeah.
You have to
University of
realize
Maryland is off
Henrietta's
the beaten
103
track.
years old.
University of Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Isn't that
It's off the
amazing?
beaten track. You get off the
Right.
train. Yeah, it's
One
like-
that's good at it.
Just a second.
I tried to pull up a picture of the campus, but I couldn't find it. The outside
Of the building, of the
of the
library.
buildings. When they raised the funds to build the buildings.
Yeah. Because it's a museum.
Right. It's a
Well,
museum, it's
Institute.
my million archive.
Institute
archive.
archive.
They had a hard time finding the land
Mhm.
because Aaron Lansky wanted to own the land.
The
He
Jews have
didn't
been,
want it on someone else's property.
I think his line is something like the Jews have been living on other people's land long
Yes.
enough. Yiddishkeit needs a
Correct.
permanent home.
And he wanted his own.
Nice.
Well, that's about Israel too.
Mhm.
Correct. And when he went to raise the funds for that,
Yeah. Well, he went to this big agency and they said, you're not in the top 10.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, maybe in 3 to 5 years, we'll work you in.
The one of my favorite things that comes up in this book is him like hitting up, Jewish property developers and businessmen for money. I think the awkwardness of like this sort of, do we be like a graduate
Yeah,
student?
it's like-
Come in, it's like, you should give me $500,000. And he got really good at it. So that's something that was really cool to see him develop and grow over the course of his story.
Yes. Yeah.
and so Aaron worked at this, picking up books, storing them in warehouses. And he's finally gets to, with the help from my father, who's a tax lawyer, we incorporated and won the tax exempt status and then the IRS.
You need that for donations.
Yeah.
And they set up a board. And that's why they're here now. And then when they finally found the land that they wanted to build upon, they had to raise the funds to pay for the land and to build the building and to pay the architect. And they found the right architect. And my brother, Joe Jacobs, attorney, civil rights and union attorney in Atlanta, was one of those who said, hey, let's see, here's something worthwhile. And he put his money in that pot too.
I didn't know that. That is so cool.
And who's Tootsie? Tell everybody.
That's Tootsie.
You're Tootsie.
Yeah, I know.
But
I got that
but
context.
the rest of us don't know that.
Yeah, who's your Tootsie?
My other brother named me Tootsie, but when I got to be 4 years old, my mama said, her name is Henrietta. She's going into school next year for first grade. We cannot call her Tootsie.
Mama.
Good to mama. Good to mama.
Give her love. So we're very thankful to have this book center. It's known worldwide. And we've discussed all these things. I have a whole history here, but we all know that history.
You know, the Yiddish Vinkl, you know, we're reading like obscure books that have never been translated on the regular. And the Yiddish Book Center is absolutely necessary for
They
this.
have interns come in every year from colleges. There's a waiting list.
Right.
And they have
The
interns who come in
Yiddish
every
people,
year
you can
and
enjoy it
translate.
if you don't speak Yiddish already.
Right.
You can, because I come drifting in and drifting out.
Well, who was it at UT that wanted to buy this library? What was the interest here, the strong Jewish
He's a great
interest?
writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we sang
Right.
Or
Singer
surprise one.
translated some of his own works from Yiddish to English, and he had other translators.
Mhm.
He won the Nobel Literary Prize, which made him a very prestigious man.
Okay, so it was simply they wanted to acquire the
His
library's
collection.
literary,
Collection.
great, not the Yiddish aspect.
Correct.
Not at least
Both.
solely.
Isaac
Both.
singers.
His family
One.
were, his brother wrote a book, his sister wrote 2 books.
Good.
They were all very well educated.
Yeah.
And what was their homeland? Where did they come from? Where did they live?
Nicolasiano, I don't remember.
I only know them from New York.
Okay. That's where, yeah.
The story of
The only history I know is when they were in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know their history before that. That's something interesting.
Mhm.
We'll have to research
She's
that.
Googling it
We'll
now.
ask the computer.
One
Where
of
did he
the
come from? Yeah.
It was one of the things I love about B'Shev Zinger is when he was giving his acceptance piece for the literature award, he gave the whole thing in Yiddish to a room that maybe had 3 or 4 speakers that were
Oh,
all
really?
Yeah. And because Yiddish deserved a seat at the table, and he wasn't going to give it up for the convenience of everyone else.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's blocking me, so.
Okay.
That was
My phone is
Nobel,
over there.
for the Nobel Peace Prize.
No, literature.
Literature prize.
And he did it in,
In
Yeah.
Yiddish. That was great.
That's cute. I
Yeah.
think that's cute.
well, would you say that Yiddish is a very
Polish.
key characteristic of the Jewish people who came here from 1880? There was a big block, a couple of million people.
Yes.
90%
Most of them spoke Yiddish.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's probably
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
with the 90%.
All spoke
Yep.
Yiddish.
They all spoke Yiddish.
There's been a lot of interest recently in the Jewish settlement programs from about 1890 to about 1920. So the
Yeah.
first Jews to come to America in mass were German Jews
Mhm.
who thought of themselves,
Mhm.
very refined and model. And so when all of these bumpkins from the Russian Empire started coming in,
There was a
they
conflict.
made
yeah.
Judaism look bad. So
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
quickly, these German Jews were creating programs to settle these shtetl dwellers in Iowa and Texas.
Well, they had the Galveston program.
That's right.
Well, they came in through Galveston.
Joseph
Don't forget
Ship
that they got off the
is
ship.
in
Many
Galveston.
of them did.
Galveston
Yeah.
plan to move
About
them
10,000
throughout.
came through
Yes,
Galveston.
because too many Jews were settling in New York.
Yep.
And Joseph Schiff decided that he would work a program
That's
where
one of
he
our
was
books coming up.
sending
Yeah.
Jews in other parts of the United States.
And he made
And that'll be coming up soon.
And the
Yeah.
food on the ship was kosher.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, and the interesting thing is, there's a museum in Galveston called the Bryan Museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are having an annual dinner, which they have to raise funds, I think in April or May. And the title is The Jewish Contribution to Galveston.
Isn't that
Really
wonderful?
cool.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. We'll go look for
That's
that.
the theme of the dinner.
Yeah, a dinner, Galveston culture, let's go.
Fiddler on the Roof was on Broadway and in English, of course, but it was also in Yiddish. And I understand it was extremely
I think.
sold out.
Yeah, yeah.
You heard that too.
Yeah.
Well, look who's coming.
Well,
Yeah.
Fiddler on the Roof
Here.
is based, I think,
You can sit right there.
Right.
Yeah, so
Then it's been a Rothschild, da 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 da. I mean, we have a wonderful man whose wife teaches at Rice, and he always does the songs for the Yiddish Vinkl.
Oh, yeah.
And he did, then he's been a Rothschild. And it's just so wonderful. I just love to hear it. I said it to a friend of mine who's from Switzerland originally. She's also a Holocaust survivor. You might know her, Anita Rothschild. She was the secretary for Rabbi Shaktel. May his soul rest in peace. Anita is echt Deutsch. You know what that is?
Yeah.
So I don't know if she appreciates that. And my father was echt Deutsch too. I don't know how he would react. I don't think my father was very moderate about, I mean, a lot of Germans, as Daniel said, there was a little bit, because Yiddish is considered by some not to be Hochdeutsch.
Yeah. Yiddish died out in Germany around the 1850s or so, and it was really in decline for some time before that. Goethe was actually the last man to take a great serious interest in Western Yiddish. Goethe?
Goethe. Oh, good.
But Yiddish was spoken in the Pale,
Yeah.
you know, it's spoken
Very
in
much
Russian.
so.
Right, and so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Eastern European Jews, and right there where you see so much publicity today with us, oh my goodness.
Belarus and Ukraine.
Yes, exactly.
That's halfway
Right.
between Minsk and
Right.
Pinsk.
That's
right.
Friends from-
wouldn't you say that, because the Yiddish really, accomplished galvanizing the, immigrants who are coming from many different backgrounds and countries, but because they had Yiddish, it was a really strong element.
Yeah.
It helped you get employment in places like the Schmanta districts.
There you
Mine's
go.
a disc.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
a
and
schmata
Montreal
is,
have
right?
one too.
Right? Well, New York, I grew up in Boston, I worked in the cloth industry.
Oh my
You
gosh.
did.
Yes. Yeah, I worked at a blouse company
Yeah.
when I was.
But it's
Yeah.
a strong unifying force, but what we started to say and slid off of, Hochdeutsch as opposed to Yiddish or Alsatian. It's very close to Alsatian. When I'm listening to the Alsatians, my head is going, oh my
Sounds like
God.
Yiddish.
Very much so.
Interesting.
So a lot of commonalities.
Yeah.
And I grew up south of Cleveland and like I saw Blazing Saddles new. And so I'm in the movie theater with my then Jewish boyfriend and we're laughing when Mel Brooks's guy switches to Yiddish and there's another person laughing and
He's
Larry.
in Schwarzo.
Yeah, and Larry Waxman goes, well, there you can spot the other Jew in the theater.
Yeah.
But young people still understood Yiddish at my age in the late 70s,
Yeah.
the kids that had grown up.
Right.
And actually, I went home with Larry and Larry's parents didn't understand I could speak German. And they started talking
Oh.
about me, ships and this and that. And I just sat there quietly, didn't say a word at all, walked out of the door and said to Larry Waxman, I will never come to your parents' house again. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Death of that relationship.
Okay.
But Yiddish was still common
Won
there.
the
Yeah.
Nobel Prize in 1979.
There we go.
Oh,
Who did this?
The Chevy single.
Sing.
And I want you to know that your land is my land
Yeah,
by Woody Guthrie,
Mhm.
who had a Jewish mother.
yes.
His
Well,
mother-in-law
yes.
was a prominent.
Yeah,
Yiddish
his
writer.
wife.
These Greenbond.
His wife's mentioned in the book,
Yes.
right?
And there's a Woody Guthrie Museum in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We've been.
That has.
I'd love to see that. I'm a big fan.
We're
of
trying
Woody
to
Guthrie.
see the
You'd
Phil
love that
Locke's part of
museum.
it.
And his son Arlo.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. They talk about Arlo having a hootenanny bar mitzvah. That's what they called it at the time.
And you must remember that we have a lot of Yiddish authors who came through the pot.
Yeah.
Saul Bellow, Abby Hoffman, Leon Uris. These are all people we need to be proud of with
Yes.
their backgrounds. And some of them came from religious homes.
If I may just add one name that's really important to my generation still, and that would be Leonard Nimoy, was part of the Yiddish theater scene
Yeah,
in New
we
York
talked
City.
about him.
Yeah,
We
of course,
talked
but
about
everyone
him here. We
forgets.
read a book about him.
And he grew up in Boston.
Oh, Boston, my bad.
Shatner's
Not
from
here.
Canada.
Grew up very far from-
Whatever this means.
He's from, I think he's from Montreal.
Oh, no, I'm wondering where he did the Yiddish theater. I didn't know that.
Yes, this, I don't know what the Jewish symbol of it is, but I know it's created that.
Right.
So you didn't read the
You
book.
might continue to be such a schmuck, but that's.
It was it's a fun book.
I like it. Was
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
It is fun.
It has a comment.
Oh, you would never know it.
Not Jewish.
Well, the thing is, one of the
What,
things,
Daniel is?
No.
Oh,
and this
my
is my old
goodness.
issue, but, I spent a lot of time at the Holocaust Museum, so I take people around and all that. And the Holocaust Museum is very focused on survivors of the Holocaust, second and third generation people. But what is missing from me
Yeah.
is my grandparents came in the early 1900s.
Yeah, well, we
They
need all
spoke
the
Yiddish.
friends we
You
get.
see,
Right.
this is
Right.
really the history of the Jews prior to the Holocaust.
All right,
Mhm.
so
I'm sorry. I
can
missed-
we,
Yeah,
can
back to the book,
we
please. Yeah.
Yeah.
start a Yiddish? We need to find a teacher to start teaching Yiddish.
Here.
You can
Places that do that.
Well, it's the culture associated with speaking Yiddish,
Absolutely.
right? We don't,
Places
I
that do
would
that,
miss-
my my cousin is big into it, his kids go to, had Yiddish summer camps, and I mean, it's a movement in all
It's
different
up
parts
in
of the
New York.
country.
It's
Yeah,
up in
yeah,
New
yeah,
York.
exactly.
Well,
there.
there's still,
Right, but not here.
what's the Yiddish class camp where they only speak Yiddish? No,
Isn't that Yiddish land?
Yiddish land.
Yid something.
Yeah, Steve Butcher.
Anyway,
Yiddish kind of.
there is a camp that meets
Yeah, I'm kind of.
every summer,
Yiddish, Yiddish kind
and they only speak Yiddish. They do not, there is not English,
Yeah.
German, French, anything
Yeah.
else. All Yiddish.
Oh.
And I have several friends who went.
But it's very
The
similar.
problem with me is,
Yeah.
I don't have people I can converse with.
Right, in Yiddish.
I study Yiddish, I read Yiddish. But Barbara and I have decided in the car, we're gonna start talking Yiddish to each other.
Barbara,
haven't done
Barbara
it yet,
Goldstein.
But we haven't done it
It's
yet.
not Barbara Horder.
No,
No, I wouldn't think so.
no, Barbara
Different.
Goldstein.
Yeah.
So you phrases.
Is there a
Yes.
camel there?
Right,
Okay.
right.
That's
I don't know why
I know.
not.
Well,
She use it regularly.
Put it.
Yes.
Maybe go on there.
Right.
Oh.
But it is-
That's not
It is
really-
really, when you read the book, I mean, in my opinion, you
Okay.
get a feel for what the Jews were like
sagen.
at that time period. When we read the book Shattered Tablets, that's another book
Yes.
coming out.
What's that?
Also about the Jews coming to the United States.
Yeah.
It's all about that same
The
people.
tablets.
If you could pause for just a
Non-hard
second, I think
copy.
Rochelle wants to say something. She's got a hand
Can you
raised.
unmute her?
Yeah, I just sent two things in the chat. One is it possible for you guys to move the camera in closer? Because I've got a big view of the room and can't see anybody's
I don't
face.
think we can do that.
Not really, it's stationary, I'm sorry to say.
Okay, all right, so that's, and the other thing was that I just mentioned that LaGuardia, who is the mayor of New York, spoke Yiddish.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Louis Armstrong spoke Yiddish.
Who? Louis
Louis
Armstrong, yeah, well, he
Armstrong.
was raised by
He
a
was brought
Jewish
up in a Jewish
family.
family.
He had
Right,
Oh, they
some
adopted him.
adopted family
Yeah.
that cared for him.
Yeah.
but
Gallus
but
definitely had-
LaGuardia learned it because he was around so many Yiddish-speaking people.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That
Well,
makes
Colin
sense.
Powell also,
I didn't know that.
Colin Powell grew up when
Yeah,
he worked in
he
a,
spoke Yiddish also. There are a lot of people.
right, he worked in a company that, what the owner was Yiddish and that owner realized his intelligence and his brilliance and promoted him.
It
Yeah.
wasn't at a store.
Yeah, I did. Louis Armstrong. That's what I'm thinking of you. Yeah, there were so many people who could speak Yiddish but just didn't all that often, which helped, obviously the language go into the decline we have today.
Yeah, well,
But
except for the fact that somebody in this country was.
I think Yiddish has become, has remained for so many reasons, but one is it's a very endearing language.
that's true.
I mean,
That goes back to the magical part.
yes, the magical part. It's just a beautiful, I think that so many interpretations are so precious.
Well, when you listen to the book on Audibles, you hear these persons speak Yiddish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is very interesting too. On a warm spring morning, a tractor trailer backed up to the loading dock of our Amherst building. On board was a large wooden crate with the improbable return address of Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe was once the British colony of Rhodesia, where there were 5,000 Jews took refuge before World War II. Going back that far
Wow.
Absolutely.
is Zimbabwe,
That's amazing.
as your parents came to South Africa
Mhm.
to escape the Nazis.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people.
They went everywhere.
Yeah.
So we have to consider that I went to Argentina. Also, when the Nazis were defeated in Germany, Argentina welcomed the Nazis
They
who
did.
ran
And
away.
China.
Oh, you'll be welcoming
Yes,
people.
China.
What did I
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
I have some friends.
So that is considered.
Well, you had Nazis and Jews living in the same community.
It's
I
not
briefly
the same
met-
community, but the same country.
Yeah.
There was a-
Haven communities.
There was a
Yeah.
band I really love from Buenos Aires and Cache Apalache. And two of the people in there were dating gay guys. But my favorite thing to learn is one of them was descended from a Nazi and one of them was descended from a family that fled the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And man, imagine spiting your Nazi grandfather that much. It's kind of inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or history is if you wait long enough, all the hereditary enemies marry each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is very interesting. I have always loved.
You like that one?
General history.
Right.
But if you research Jews and Jewish history, that's even more, well, it's more personal.
Right. For us. Yeah. We have a more emotional stake.
Right.
I mean, is there any other language that's so unifying? For my
I find
reading?
Esperanto did not make it very well.
I find
English.
that Yiddish words encompass many things that English words do not.
We shouldn't
I use the Yiddish word can mean, depending on the word,
For shlema, that doesn't
And it's-
translate to anything.
it's just an expressive language to me. So anyway, our friend has now retired as CEO of the Yiddish Book Center.
Aaron Lansky.
Yeah. I think he's my
He's
age.
retired.
He's older.
He's older than me?
He was a graduate student in the mid-70s. So I think he's a few
Yeah,
years
he's
older.
about 5
He's
years
in
older.
his early 70s.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's
Oh, he
young.
retired.
About 5 years.
Does he go around and speak or?
Well, he's retired. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know
not
if
really.
he's
It's
still
possible.
speaking any longer.
I really want to go meet the man because he shaped my life quite a bit. I got Outwitting History as an audio book from from the library, or they'd be during COVID. And at that point, Mother and I were swimming every morning. So
That's
I put it on a big speaker and listened to it while we did laps every day.
And I knew about the book, but I hadn't read it because it wasn't out. I got out of school in 82 and it wasn't out then, I don't think. And it's just a little bit later, but I knew about him.
The book was
early.
another way of him raising money for the Yiddish book sale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The man had a very special goal in mind at all times, and he was
Yeah.
damn good at it.
But like, think about like, what year did the forewords change from Yiddish to English? I mean, you
They
can
did change.
They're bilingual right now?
There's a Yiddish edition, there's an English edition.
But when did they start the English edition? See,
And the reason they don't have a full Yiddish edition is we don't have that many Yiddish readers any longer.
And now,
Yeah.
now.
So
But
there
it's
you
still
go.
publishing.
It's still published.
Jakob, Jakob
But our
Christian
Yiddish
Schneider
Vinkl
is-
has every week, we have a leader, Mina Grauer, who I will tell you graduated, she's a PhD from Rice. And she's an Israeli, very impressive. And she organizes the literature that we study every week. And then we have Maurice Moftal, who does the song every week. And it's just what I want to say is that we have usually 28 to 30 people. And so because of the magic of Zoom, we have people from Israel. We used to have somebody joining us. We do have every week somebody from London.
Right.
Just the most charming, lovely, brilliant. These are such brilliant people.
You should come. It's sort of
We
the
get
shit.
to 30 people joining us every week.
But it's not just Yiddish language. They're doing a song, they're doing a story. They do it in Hebrew, read it. I mean, I'm sorry, in Yiddish, read it, and then translate it. So it's very enjoyable. I can speak a little bit of German, so I can understand some when they do. But like I said, I grew up knowing a little Yiddish also.
But-
It's enjoyable, even
Does
if
it
you're not.
cover the Jewish culture
Yes.
at that particular
The
time?
literature. So that's like, what is literature?
Well,
It's the-
literature and songs and, you know.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
main focus for me anyway, is literature, right? Rochelle, you have something else to say?
Yeah, Avi Hoffman is kind of my cousin, and we had a discussion about Yiddish. He runs the I Love Jewish organization. You might be on his mailing list or not, but he said that one of the reasons that Yiddish is proliferating again is because it's a way of defining your Jewishness without the conflict of Israel right now, where you kind of have to take sides, because Yiddish is not associated with Israel the way Hebrew is. And I thought that was an interesting comment.
Well,
She's right. It's a discussion I would really much so like to not touch with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah,
But
right.
it is,
We're not
but it is
discussing
worth
that.
sharing that amongst younger people. That is extremely true. I find I know a lot of people that are very interested in exploring Jewishness through Yiddish as opposed
Right.
to through mainstream Yiddish.
Right here today, Donna Katz has a teenage group
Hmm.
at,
Wiener?
Or the Maccabees?
Here, the
G.
11th grade.
The Orthodox High School.
Oh, the Orthodox
Baron.
High School.
She has a group of teenagers
Baron.
that are
Baron?
learning Yiddish.
Is it
Oh,
Baron?
really?
Baron is the one.
It's Orthodox.
Yeah. Is that the one?
So Barron Academy?
Could be.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
anyway, she has a group.
She
that
has
Donna
she has a
Katz, yeah.
group of about 12 teenagers that are, she is teaching Yiddish to them
Wow.
right now, today.
But,
And Donna is like in her, how old is she? Like 40?
How did you get
40?
Rochelle up there?
That's
Rochelle?
it. Yeah, that's Zoom.
Was she watching us?
Well,
Yeah, she was.
we
So
said,
tired.
we
That's
got
why I moved
the
over
link.
you so she could see me.
Rochelle is from
Barbara can see you
Florida.
too. Hi, Barbara.
She's
I
from
didn't know
Florida.
that. That's Barbara.
Wait,
Rochelle, are you still there?
she got
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm in Florida
Rochelle,
now. Yeah, but
That is good.
I
That
go
was
back and
good.
forth between Long Island and Florida.
Rochelle, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, hello. Thank you.
Hello.
We're so happy to see you and Barbara.
Oh,
I have a question, actually,
Go
or a
ahead.
comment.
Baba, yeah?
Okay, I'd just like to remark that nobody's commented about how Yiddish continues because of the religious community.
Yeah.
And because
Yeah.
people have children in the religious community and they speak Yiddish every day to their children,
Mhm.
it
Right.
continues. And that is an important factor. So
You are-
I don't want to ignore that. And I also would like to remark that with regard to the issue of Zionism, there are Zionist Jews. There have always been Zionist Jews, because as a matter of fact, if you think about Judaism, and we celebrate 3 pilgrimages, and where is it celebrated?
Mhm.
Jerusalem,
Bible.
Zion, it's sort of intertwined. So I just make that comment that we can't ignore, we can't ignore information, in my opinion.
Baba, you are absolutely right. And that's actually a point Aaron Lansky feels the need to bring up because especially around the Zionist question, there was a substantial divergence of the Jewish community and the Yiddish speaking community around modernism. So, as the Hasidim, who are some of the most aggressive promoters of Yiddish today, very much so did not want to go to Israel initially. And it was the Holocaust that substantially drove them to go. But today, because of this literature that we follow, it represents often a secular trend of Yiddishkeit that is frankly very at odds with that religious community Bob was talking about. So I do appreciate you mentioning that because that is obviously the main promoters of Yiddish these days. And that division can be hard to notice because the Hasidim mostly stick to themselves. And so if you are not seeking them out, even in my kind of Yiddish circles, you just don't see them very often.
It's not all the religious Jews, it's especially the Hasidic.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what he said.
Did anybody notice in the book that when he was in Europe, they always noticed that he was, the Gentiles, they could tell that he was Jewish. And he said in the United States, he always got taken for Irish, but in Europe, he was recognized as Jewish.
Did he have red hair? I don't remember that part.
That was in the book while he
Yeah.
was in Europe.
It's
And
been
I
3 years since I read
recognized
it. I
it
don't know.
because
Yeah.
I got, all my life, I've been taken for Irish. Yeah, and when
Holy
someone
hell,
I'm
that might
Jewish,
be
they
it.
said,
Or
"I
red
just
hair.
look Irish."
Holy
Or
hell,
red
that might
hair.
be it as well.
Evidently, there must be a type of Jew. This is, the way I look is the way Jews look. I
Some-
do look
some
Jewish. They just don't know what Jews look like.
each other.
Some Ashkenazi are noticeable, most Ashkenazi are not, especially to Gentiles. Does that make sense when I say that?
Yeah, but to specifically Irish, is anybody else here?
It's the
about
red
to get
hair, I
taken for Irish?
But a lot of Jews have red hair.
And that's what I'm saying, but in Europe, it's
This is
mostly.
I was amazed at how many redheads I saw.
That's what
I
I'm
have
saying.
redheads in my head.
Well, that's what I'm saying, it's.
And I
it's
don't
more
know where they
common
came
in
from
Jews
because
than
all of
other
us are
ethnic
brown.
groups.
I didn't look
It can
at
be anywhere.
Didn't Jesus have red hair?
Interesting.
One thing I was
I'm
thinking about-
not sure, but they think Judas Iscariot. did.
But it's all good, or?
I think we had a most interesting discussion.
It was.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
You're very
There
welcome.
was one thing I did want to mention that I thought was really cool about the surviving Yiddish tradition. Aaron Lansky at the end of his book discusses going to the Soviet Union as it was collapsing.
Oh, to get
And the
books.
amount of Yiddish texts that were, the communities that wanted Yiddish texts, but there weren't any books left. Because most of them were destroyed during the war and then the Stalin administration was not that interested in continuing Yiddish traditions. With the notable exception of the journal Inzoa Welt, which by the way is being digitized right now. It was the main Soviet periodical. But it was so fascinating because Aaron Lansky spent most of his career going to remote areas to rescue Yiddish books. And then at the end of that period, he's taking them back to Europe, which I thought was so interesting.
Because they need.
And one of the most important contributions of the Yiddish Center, besides preservation, is they are printing Yiddish books
Keep
again.
publishing.
You can on demand go and find a bunch of books on their website and ask to have a new copy sent to you for like $25. And I've been meaning to take advantage of that because the vast majority of Yiddish text around today were printed prior to 1940. often they will for economically disadvantaged communities. So they're asset people. They're falling apart. And there's this great section of the book where Aaron talks about being in bed with his wife. And he's like, oh, this is a really good book as it's crumbling into dust as he reads it. And he's like, we can't continue this.
Tell them about your Yiddish Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, well, the Yiddish speaker, we were just talking about that. But Max Spitzkopf, the Yiddish Sherlock Holmes, which was like the trashy pulp fiction of 1904, Lithuania.
But I think
We
it's
just were
adorable.
talking to a new white translator who's published a new edition through the Yiddish Book Center.
And he got
And I was recently talking to a Jewish scholar who was very dismissive of the idea of continuing Yiddish. And sadly, at least outside of the Hasidic community, I do think we're going to reach a point when there are almost no secular Yiddish speakers. But at the same time, this interest, this renaissance of Yiddishkeit that is happening right now is buying Yiddish time. We're translating books. There's money to make sure that this gets digitized and preserved for the future generations.
but we
And that's
know-
important in of itself.
And let me say one last thing, and then we've got to leave. I've got an appointment, and I know you're wrapping up anyway.
She was
But-
out of here.
Yeah. So, but the one thing I'll go to say, Dan sort of got mad at his Irish friends that were forced to learn Irish in Ireland. And he's like, no, you don't understand. We were robbed of our culture. So our family is German, watch, stop, duck, cover. My family is Swiss, we're Alsatian, so we're French. We're from Germany, but my most recent branch moved here in like 1730s. So I fortuitously dodged the stain. But we were German speakers for over 200 years in this country. Because of World War I, people were being lynched for speaking German. When we lost our German, we lost our culture in many, many ways. And he feels that. And I didn't feel it, sorry, growing up, but with watching my child that I have indulged in his love of small languages. So Dan and I this month went to a lecture from a UT professor about the death of Texas German. They know it will die within 5 years. And you don't really want to see that happen to Yiddish. But the truth of it is we've got to get young kids immersed in Yiddish. And they've asked Dan to find younger people, but Dan's sort of running.
This is going to shock you. There aren't a lot of young people who can come to a Vinkl at 10:30 a.m. on a Tuesday.
But and I mean, but if there was the interest, they'd do another time.
Mhm.
But Yiddish is still alive and real and palpable. Texas German is not. And I learned German in school, although my grandmother spoke German as a small child before the war. But they're speaking Pennsylvania Dutch. These are people here for 200 years, mostly from South German, Swiss, Alsace. So they're French, they're Swiss, and they're German. But yeah, actually, they're not German because Germany didn't exist when these people got here.
That's didn't.
But it's also interesting hearing how all this languages and
Yeah.
this is amazing.
And I didn't know
And hearing
Pennsylvania
these
Dutch was a
things.
spoken language.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah,
Dan's
500,000
fluent.
speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also a
But
religious
they were Amish, so no one
component.
here was from them.
Amish, and my ancestors partially were Amish, partially are Jewish.
associated with Amish.
So much. Thank you for this amazing.
Barbara, thank you for your contributions. Always wonderful to hear.
Thank you, guys. It's wonderful seeing you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've sent out the schedule. Our next book is going to be our The Orphan's Tale by Pam Jenoff. It's a fiction book. It's, it's a little bit different after it's a little intensive. So we have a copy in the library, which is going out, but please look around and get a copy of the book. And, we'll keep rotating this around, or please go get your own copy of the book. And, I will lead it unless anybody else would like to lead it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all. And I'll send you out this, I think I'm recording here. Hopefully I'll be able to send out this recording to everyone.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Super.
Thank you, Henrietta.
Yes.
Thank
you.
you. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you so
much.
Danke sehr. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming.